Hey, so for the last week, I've been spending my limited amount of brain power, 2 weeks really, been spending my limited amount of brain power on my own D&D game rather than videos. So, you know what, I figured I'll throw in a video about D&D because, it's not a lot of extra brain power being spent. Alright, this is Elder Scrolls Races in converted into D&D. Now, my main rule is do as little work as possible. So, instead of creating all of these myself, I'm just going to hunt through the books to find things that approximate these races. First of all, we have the Argonians. This one's actually really simple. You look in page 112 of the Volo's Guide, has the lizard folk, which is a carbon copy of what an Argonian is. Constitution, wisdom, they're very hardy, and they are really in touch with nature. Same size. They even have a swimming speed, just like the Argonians. Fangs are a weapon. Also awesome. Cutting artisan. I'm not entirely sure if that fits perfectly with the Argonians, but it is a useful skill, and you know what? It's, I'll be honest, it doesn't really fit great with the lizard folk either in most settings. So, it's fine, whatever. Hold breath, also an awesome skill that Argonians do have from living in the swamps. Hunter's lore. Any of these skill proficiencies work great with the way Argonians live. Natural armor, self-evident. Hungry jaws. As a bonus action, you can make a special attack with your bite. So, again, it's an awesome little ability. I don't think Argonians are necessarily that feral, but it is a pretty useful thing. I'll be honest, if I had to change anything in this, maybe take out Hungry Jaws and Cunning Artisan and replace them with Poison Resistance. But other than that, they're carbon copies, especially because of the swimming speed and the hold breath and the Hunter's lore are just spot on. Next, we're going to have the Khajiit, which the Tabaxi in Volo's Guide fit them pretty much perfectly. With a climb speed, that use their claws. They're stealthy and perceptive. I might maybe say they're persuasive too. And charisma. They also have very good charisma. They are your thieves, and they make very good thieves, so just like the Tabaxi. Alright, here comes a little more complicated one. We have the Breton. The Bretons are honestly pretty a default of a human. They're a very knight-like society, kind of based off of medieval England, or at least the fictionalized version of it that most of us are fairly familiar with. Skilled in the arcane or history. Definitely what I'd put them on, because what I'm giving you is the human variant rather than the base human with +1 to everything. And feats are going to probably be based around magic, because magic is so very prevalent in their culture. You're going to have, so magic initiate or ritual caster, either one really works for a Breton. And maybe replace intelligence or charisma with wisdom, depending on what kind of caster you are for your ability scores, but pretty basically, this is how it's going to run. Now we're going to have the Nords. Okay, so I thought about doing the Nords the same way I just did the Bretons, but I could not find I could not find anything that perfectly encapsulates them, really. So, and then I saw the Goliaths. In Volo's Guide, page 108, freaking amazing. They have strength and constitution. Very much hale, hardy, strong Nords. Big old buggers. And then shrug off injury. Very good, again, constitution. They have a good survivability. I mean, you see those guys running around shirtless in the snow in Skyrim. They can carry a lot. They're very big people. They're like built people in most Elder Scrolls lore, as well as the whole mountain-born thing. Because gotta admit, it's snowing so very much of the year around that it's got to be very high in elevation. common and giant, I might replace giant with something else for the languages, but other than that, I can't say there's anything entirely wrong with it. Red Guards. Red Guards are again going to be running off of the that same previous concept we had of variant humans. I chose Dex and Con because, you know, they had that poison resistance thing, and I could not find a way to emulate that very well here, or at least not perfectly without creating a whole new race. So, Con and Dexterity, because they do have a lore of being using very fast blades, scimitars, and I think there was something about a blade dance going on in there with the Red Guard Society. I think it was an Elder Scrolls Online. I'm not entirely sure, though. Skill, acrobatics, they are very fast on their feet, moving around. I would choose either Defensive Duelist or Weapon Master. Defensive Duelist because, again, they're very much high-speed swordsman kind of thing. And Weapon Master, especially, you gotta add, it adds... Choose, like, especially if you don't get these kind of weapons from your class, choose, like, scimitar or short sword, not entirely, daggers, whatever. Well, I think everybody gets daggers, but whatever kind of weapon you would want. Things like scimitars for sure, though, and other kind of fast, high-speed blades. Actually, even a longsword could work too, just given how they end up going later on. The Imperial. The Imperial is industrious. They spread out from Cyrodiil to all corners and rule all of Tamriel. They're charismatic, and I gave them dexterity as well, just because, I'll be honest, dexterity could be pretty easily replaced with anything from constitution to strength to anything. But charisma, I feel, is very key to being a Imperial. Persuasion, and then again, persuasion can also be replaced with any of the charisma-based skills, because they will have the type of skills necessary to talk their way through a lot of different environments. And the feat lucky, I mean, they've got to have a good amount of luck to be as industrious as they are, and to be as proliferate, just to be as everywhere as they are, in every facet of society. Alright, and coming up on the High Elves, the Altmer. Again, this one's actually a pretty straight port of the High Elf from the Player's Handbook. Dexterity and Intelligence, Dark Vision, Perception, Proficiency. Again, like I said, while some of these don't fit perfectly, they fit well enough that I don't want to change anything, because this is we don't want to do too much work. I'm lazy. I imagine you're really lazy too. And just renaming something or changing things around, or changing like the look of it, is a lot easier than creating a whole new race or sub-race or anything. Alright. Trance, Semi-Conscious 4 hours, and Cantrip. This is the most important thing, the reason I think that the Altmer fit perfectly, is getting a Cantrip from the Wizard's spell list. As well, the extra language does help too, because their society is, their island of Somerset is the home of the Sigic Order. It's a lot of it has, so their society is very steeped in magic. I mean, it was their influence and when they at one point enslaved the Bretons, that kind of put the Bretons into magic as much as they are. So the Altmer, the High Elves, pretty much a straight port. This one again, the Bosmer, the Wood Elves, pretty much straight port of the Wood Elves. They have a lot of the same abilities as the High Elves, the Fey Ancestry, the Trance, the Weapon Training. But these ones are faster, and they can hide really easy inside the snow and everything. And they're great with longbows, short bows. These guys are your rangers. Alright, Dunmer. Dunmer, I actually did this a little differently. Because, well, the Dunmer in the, or the Dark Elves in the Player's Handbook they're very much based around seeing in the dark, shiny lights, things like that, darkness. But the Dunmer in Skyrim are entirely different. They're very much, they're children of the Ash Mountain. So they tend to so I gave them things like hellish resistance, resistance to fire damage. I ported them from the Tieflings. Page 43 of the Player's Handbook. They're charisma based, and charisma and intelligence really do work for them. Their society is very much based around a little bit of deception, a little bit of finagling, fiery fights, and they also have, and we gave them this these a little bit of extra spells. And honestly, I think if you go into Mordenkainen's, you could find a lot of other there are a lot of other versions of the Tiefling that could fit just about as well. Maybe with better spells that fit better for the Tiefling. Thermogatory doesn't work great, but you know what? It's an awesome spell, and I'd be happy to have it, even if it's not necessarily the best fit. You have Hellish Rebuke, great fit, fire out of nowhere, just like a Dunmer. And Darkness, because they do have a good bit of kind of darkness to them, really, in their actions more than in their society. I would change out Infernal for some other. Actually, no, Infernal works pretty well too, because they do, or at least depending on what era you're in and which faction of the Dunmer, they do worship the Daedra. So maybe substitute the word Infernal with Daedra. It would work, and it works pretty much perfectly. Orcs. Orcs are just, I used half orcs, because while they do have an actual orc in Volo's guide, it is not near, it has some downsides, and I think the upsides aren't near as good as some of these special abilities like Savage Attack and Relentless Endurance. The orcs are very much products of Malakath's Rage. They're hardy people, and they're very strong. And they're scary looking. They're intimidating. I don't really know what else to say other than they fit perfectly. Malakath's Rage, kind of the Savage Attack, the Relentless Endurance. Yeah, I'm going to go with these. And that is all I have for you today. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments down below.